Each week on the program, we like to break down the stories from three different levels of government with CTV political commentator Scott Reid. So conveniently, Scott's here.
Right
Imagine
here.
that. We do that every week,
Live
and you're
in
sitting
studio.
right next to me.
Yeah,
good to talk
just like
to you.
the Prime Minister.
Exactly. Yeah, live at a studio audience last night. Stephen Colbert, Justin Trudeau makes his appearance there. He, of course, is there for the UN, but he was interviewed by Colbert last night. He talked about a variety of topics, also the non-confidence motion as well. But what's your overall take on the Colbert interview before we get into the non-confidence?
Okay, so I used to be the communications director to a prime minister. So I spent all day yesterday, intricately, with like one light in my room, concentrating and think, what's the strategy here? What's the domestic political strategy? Far behind in the polls, facing a confidence vote. What's the magic trick he's trying to pull off here? And then I watched it. And you know what? There's no trick. I think he just went because he wanted to go. I think he was invited, and and it was, he was good.
Those are risky situations, though, aren't they? Because the questions could come up, and it could go the wrong way.
Absolutely not without political risk. First of all, if you go on there and you look like a tool, and you're a stiff politician in a pop culture setting, that's a risk. That's not one you would expect from him. But second, you're going to get questions about Trump, and how do you navigate them? And he just brushed them off. I mean, the Haitian dog thing, he was just like, not going there, which is the only way to play that. Up, down, net, zero sum. To me, it's a wash. He just went. The haters are going to hate. Those who love him will be like, hey, that's cool. But I don't really think there's some secret political strategy. If there is, I'm too stupid to see it. Yeah,
the haters are going to hate, and the Trudeau fans are going to love it. And that's exactly what the reaction I saw this morning was. It was as predictable as that, really. In the meantime, let's talk about what's happening in Ottawa today. The Conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, are going to introduce the non-confidence motion. Doesn't look like it's going anywhere, though.
So the one thing I wanted to say is you've got this non-confidence vote. So, maybe we'll see later in the fall, early next year, this could move into a real drama. This one is not a drama. Both the NDP and the Bloc have said they're not going to support it. And so that vote's going to proceed. Poilievre's perspective is this allows me to get the Bloc and the NDP on the record that notwithstanding their negative rhetoric about the government, they're still going to support them and preserve this government. So that's his goal. I think it's interesting to look at how the government is kind of counter-programming. So first of all, the PM's in New York. Those are fixed meetings, doing Colbert, all that kind of stuff. But then here, today, what you're going to see is the government's going to be bringing out new mortgage rules, right, trying to focus on that issue. You're going to see them trying to just move past this vote. And so it's interesting to see how they want to kind of pressurize this whole thing. Sometimes governments want to add drama to this sort of moment and say, look, we survived, kiss both biceps, we are strong. They're not doing that. They're just like, let's just motor through this vote and live to fight another day.
Right, okay, let's move to provincial now, because an interesting sort of off-the-cuff remark by Premier Doug Ford yesterday about people living in encampments or people getting jobs here or not having jobs. What's your assessment on this one?
So this is the kind of, headlining ASS. People need to get off their ASS if they're healthy, living in encampments. And I know how this plays from a populist standpoint. Me and my buddies sit around the hunting camp, drinking a bottle of rye. We're like, hey, why don't they do some work, Okay, great. But I actually think it's a bit of a DIK move, frankly, because from my perspective, I think people know that folks living in encampments are, by and large, riddled with addiction and mental health issues. Those are provincial responsibilities, trying to make those things better, not worse. These people are not going to be able to hold a job. And even there are folks, who are living without a home, who are struggling to find a place to live, maybe hauling their family around in a car. These are tough times, cost of living. So I know it will play fine for him politically. But I think it's kind of low politics to sort of say, let's kick down at those that are struggling on the real margins of our society and screaming at them like they're lazy. Not all these people are lazy. Many of them are just deeply troubled.
Yeah, there are many issues indeed out there. Okay, this next story is kind of connected to Doug Ford, but it's a municipal issue as well, bike lanes. The province seems to be sort of getting into the, let's not have any more bike lanes. It's interesting in Toronto where they sort of expanding the network, 100 kilometers, et cetera. So cars, according to Doug Ford, are still the priority, but Olivia Chow in Toronto wants to see more bike lanes.
So I think this is super interesting politics because, Doug Ford last week, they introduced legislation, a bunch of things packed in there. So they've got bike lanes, trying to eliminate or at least diminish the number of cameras. So that gets in here in Toronto, that gets into the, block the box sort of thing where you want to get out of your car and just smash somebody because they're in the middle of the intersection. I think what's so interesting about this is Doug Ford is, I think, in many ways, trying to get his opponents sucked into a dummy fight. He wants to get people arguing about bike lanes. And he thinks that works for him politically. That almost certainly does work for him politically, given congestion issues and all of that. And when the more you're talking about that, the less you're talking about 413 or maybe some block-to-box, some of these controversial things. So I think they did that on purpose. Fly this balloon, get people shooting at it. And what's interesting for Chow is, as much as her constituency politically, left, New Democrats, are like, how dare you attack bike lanes? That's the cathedral of our politics. I think she has to lay off of it because she knows she doesn't have popular support on her side. So it'll be interesting to watch her manage this little wedge play with the province.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Okay, hey, we got through all three today.
There we go. We made it.
All
yeah.
right. Scott Reed, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
I got a bag of money for you.
Oh, you do?
Canadian money.
Canadian money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the Colbert callback. Okay, we'll take that.
Right.
Scott, thanks so much.